It's another great word on the street with none other than the founder of Warrior Bride Ministries. Over 19 years of experience working with victims of child exploitation and child trafficking and more. It's none other than Kelly Holly. How you doing, Kelly?
Great. How are you? Thank you
I'm
for
doing
having
good.
me.
Hey, thanks for being on, dear. Thank you for being on, and thank you for what you do. Earlier I was doing a show with Spencer Bennett called Deep Dive, and it's still amazing how many people out there, Kelly, uh, either don't know or don't care or don't want to know what's been happening since the beginning of time, but especially what's been coming to light in recent years in regards to the reality of those who have been trafficked and exploited as children. And that's one of the reasons why you started Warrior Bride Ministries. But Kelly, tell us about yourself first.
Well, thank you. I am Kelly Hawley. I am a wife of 33 years and a mother of a 27-year-old boy named Colton and a 23-year-old son named Carson.
Wow.
And, I have done so many different things in my life. But for the last 20 some years, even if I was still working in corporate America or something, I was serving childhood exploitation survivors, primarily in the early days with healing retreats. But it has evolved into the Lord having me start my own ministry in which I work 24/7,
Wow.
365, just about, because the need is so great. And it kind of consumes my life, but I work on boundaries. As I teach about boundaries and I try to implement them myself because it can be all consuming because the need is so great, and the workers are so few.
Well, you know what? I don't know if you started with that focus or not, but were you surprised? At what point did you learn about the reality of this underworld that is no longer undeniable?
Right. Well, what happened was, I am a survivor, overcomer of childhood exploitation in terms of, I was sexually abused. When I talk about these things, I talk about a trauma spectrum because there is different degrees of this. All of it makes a huge difference in a child's life. Um, you always have a wound and a confusion that occurs when you've been sexually abused, but there certainly is some that is more traumatic than others. So I would have been on the farther left-hand spectrum of one that was abused by the mother's boyfriend and things like that
Right.
a few times, kind of thing. Makes a difference, huge difference. It affected my life greatly. But when I met
Wow.
the Lord, He helped heal me. So, but as you go down the spectrum, you start to get into, let's say, trafficking, where there is an exchange for money, and that can look even different ways. But if you continue going down the spectrum, you start to get into all the things prior, but also ritual abuse, where there is tons of people in this world that believe that Satan, Lucifer, is the way, is the one to worship, and they do rituals on a daily, well, almost daily basis, really. But they have a satanic calendar, and it always involves a child and sexual abuse of a child, plus several other things. But then as you continue to go down the spectrum, it includes all those things, but also mind control, government sponsored mind control, um, through different avenues. It started back with the Nazis when we brought the scientist over here after World War II.
Project Paperclip. Yeah.
That is one of them. Yep. And it hasn't stopped. In a lot of scenarios, they try to make us believe it stopped, but it just hasn't. It's evolved. It's starting to get into transhumanism and things of that sort. So that's what I deal with every
Wow.
day.
And people will reduce mind control to a Roseanne Barr statement, which she was absolutely correct, by the way. But it's so heavy that people, again, they think doing this and this and this makes it go away. And it doesn't make it go away. It is a reality. and it's coming to light. A lot of, operatives have gone through programs like that, a combination of trauma and drugs, separating a person, so to speak, in
Hmm.
order to activate to develop multiple personalities is what they say, to be
Right.
able to activate. It's a very real thing, folks, and yes, it is still in existence. Unfortunately, the Luciferian cabal is who's been running the show. God is ultimately in control, but this is a reality. This isn't a conspiracy theory anymore, folks. Yes, yesterday's conspiracy theory is today's headline, and you have been dealing with victims in ministry and deliverance in this world. Did your friends and family think you were crazy at first, or I mean, I'm sure they see the
Yeah.
light now.
Right, right. Some of them do. There's still some sleepers out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting because at first it wasn't as big of a deal, although 20 years ago you couldn't even talk about sexual abuse.
Right,
Now
right,
it's common. So back then it was radical even then, but still it wasn't as severe. But then when it started, the Lord started showing us more and deeper. Then it was got a little like, whoa. And I had to learn who to keep my mouth shut around and who I could share a little bit. But
right.
I did, lose a lot of friends and stuff. They couldn't understand it, and I had to choose. Ultimately, I had to choose. Our conference, we call it counting the cost, because there is a cost that we have to count, and that's scripture. And Yeshua had to count the cost before he came down here and suffered, died, buried, and all that. And we have to do the same. We have to decide: are we going to fulfill our destiny, our calling? Are we going to partner with him in this war? Or are we going to go on our vacations, and are we going to, do these other things? And
Wow.
so I counted the cost and I chose him, and I chose his will for my life.
Well, and chose in a radical way to call your ministries Warrior Bride Ministries, which by the way, you can go to warriorbrideministries.com right now, folks, and navigate that. Where did you get the name Warrior Bride for this?
Well, I feel like I got it from him, but warrior, well, Kelly in Hebrew and biblically is warrior.
All
So
right.
so I
Love it.
had, spoken over me since the beginning. And then the bride of Christ. I think it's a season for the bride of Christ to really rise up and a
Right.
spotlight on her. And so I just feel like he kind of put it together.
Very powerful. And when you go to this website, it's a great website, very user friendly. Encourage everybody to read up on it and also to donate to the cause too, because you've been treating people in a way where, as you've said before, on your website, that you don't believe, this ministry needs a price tag or the healing needs a price tag. People need help and they need to get it now. And you encourage people to help you help them.
Yeah, we do not charge for any of our services. The only thing there's a charge for is our conferences, because we
Right.
have to rent a place and all that. But survivors, we're on track for just about 200 survivors this year. And we don't just see them once. I have some that have been here for 5 years,
Right.
and, every week. Um, so we give them individual appointments that a lot of people are charging like $350 for, but we give nothing. And we have about 10 different classes,
Wow.
that group classes that they go in, where we teach different skills, fellowships, boundaries, attachment theory, um, go through the scriptures, look at scriptures. Now that we know more, we look at the scriptures and say, oh, here it is in the scripture. But we didn't know because nobody out there is talking about it.
Right.
It's not the typical scriptures that they say over and over in church. So we just do a lot of different things to create community. We have retreats. We have if you're local, we go on about monthly different outings, like the museum or picnics or just whatever, to create community, because I think people heal in community. Loneliness is one of the biggest issues. And the rejection, they're so rejected, not only from everything that happened to them, but when they go to seek help, people are scared of them, or people say it's not real, or you're the issue, or that they're parts when they have multiple personalities because of the trauma. People think they're demons, and so they start casting them out. It's just like nonstop. So we're trying to change that and help people to see what the truth is. And part of the truth is that these were children, and a lot of times even babies, that had this abuse starting to happen to them. And we cannot just keep adding to their trauma and their rejection. These are God's creation. He loves them. He's
Wow.
close to the brokenhearted, and there's no more brokenhearted than these survivors.
Well, I've heard it said that the Satanists believe that the best way they can hurt God is to attack the most pure, the most vulnerable, and that's children.
Absolutely.
And this isn't just a nice little idea. This is a very powerful ministry, folks. When you go to warriorbrideministries.com, of course, you can request an appointment. There's services, there's resources. You could shop, you could donate. The counting the cost conference coming up. We're going to get to that, but you also have sponsors as well, corporate sponsors in addition to individual sponsors. Yamaha Watercraft, Jim Wilkerson Construction, Linwood Motorplex, and then MP Marine, and the list goes on. You can also join the newsletter. I've already joined the newsletter since this conversation. There's also opportunity for people to volunteer. People help people who help people. And I already know that this is good soil, folks. Warrior Bride Ministries. Tell us about the Counting the Cost conference coming up.
Okay. So this is our fifth annual one, and I think it's become something we really look forward to. It's good in terms of helping people understand, but also just bringing the body of Christ together in fellowship. And the survivors are welcomed. Those who want to learn to help the survivors, those that just want to understand more, everybody's welcome, because this is a battle for all of us, and we all need to join together. But each year we have, it just depends, maybe 10 speakers or something like that, that are all kind of on the front line.
Wow.
And we have fun too. Not only do we dig into this deep topic of not only what is this topic, but also what we can do about this topic, but we have things like dinners and the one coming up September 12th through 14th in Daytona Beach, Florida. We'll have an
Wow.
oceanfront dinner, and we're going to have baptisms and worship, and I think a bonfire with s'mores and stuff like that, on top of 2.5 really heavy days of getting to the truth of what this really is that we're dealing with and what we can do about it.
Well, you know what? I'm really impressed with how you minister to these people. And I know that's going to be a powerful conference. Also, the different services you provide. And I want to talk about this because for those of you who check this out, and especially those who want to support the cause or even be a corporate sponsor, conferences are a great way, incredible impact events, but you can also bring them into the other services that you do on a regular basis. You have boundaries and attachment, building and teaching life skills, wellness therapies, discipleship, individual sessions, of course, chiropractic care. Who would have thought? But hey, trauma informed chiropractic care, it helps release stored trauma in the body. Your body's alive. It was made to heal itself. Sometimes it needs a little bit of help, but there is muscle memory, there is body memory, pain, illness. That's fascinating. Battle cry, online church. For the hurt, where it's safe to ask the hard questions. Intercessory prayer call. Come to the table. It's a bi-weekly online meeting. There's also a podcast too under the podcast tab. That's warriorbrideministries.com. And for this event though, When people go to warriorbrideministries.com and they click the donate, or is there another specific portal to donate for the conference? Does it matter? I know it's all going to the same thing. What's the best way to say, hey, I want to support a conference like that as an individual first?
Okay. Well, if you're trying to attend, you go to the drop down and it says 2025 conference.
Right.
If you want to sponsor, you can go to the donate or you just reach out. You can do, there's a want to chat or there's emails and phone numbers, and we'll have a conversation and we can see what you want to do and we'll help facilitate that. So there's different ways. It just depends. Ultimately, it's a donation and then it's depending on the level of sponsorship, there's different things that you'll get, just like you see there, how you
Mhm.
were able to identify our sponsors. We show that on our different, conferences, we advertise it, and our different like website and all those, newsletter, all those things.
Well, it's a powerful, I can already tell it's a powerful ministry. And of course, Angela Holland that connected us, she only recommends the real deal. She says what she means and she means what she says. And that's how you are. And
Yeah.
we love that. I love these internal family systems you have starting at June 4th, 7 p.m. And that's via Zoom. But you talk about the 8 C's with internal family systems: confidence, calm, compassion, courage, creativity, clarity, curiosity, and connectedness. Um, Again, you really do a lot of ministry. As you're conducting this very powerful ministry, it's the only one of its kind like this that I've seen so far. What's the biggest misconception when it comes to people who have suffered through this kind of thing? I know in the '90s, 4 out of every 10 young women or women had gone through sexual abuse, and then 25 years ago, 6 out of every 10. I'm afraid it maybe even higher right now. That people have no idea the statistics, but what's the largest or the biggest misconception when it comes to people who have endured this, who need ministry?
Right. So I think I think people think like, well, I'm not qualified, that's scary. I don't, all these kind of things. Well, the truth is, anybody can love.
Uh,
If they choose to love, they can love. And it starts with that. And that's really the healer. Now, he is the healer, but, he is love. And I'm not saying that there aren't some keys that help us to get through what the enemy has put together, because there is. But that's why right now we're in the middle of writing manuals
Mhm.
and books to help anybody that is willing to take this manual and to go through it and to help somebody. Because I believe what you're going to find as the Lord continues to shine the light on this issue is that not one of us don't know somebody that actually is affected by this. And I'm not even talking about the regular sexual, I hate to call it regular, but the not as extreme sexual abuse, because that the statistics currently are 1 in 3 women, 1 in 5 or 6 men, but that's what's reported. And nobody hardly reports because of just so many different reasons, with the trauma and the manipulation and things. So very few actually report. But so the chances of you knowing somebody is very, very high. But when you go to the farther right spectrum, that is very high that you know somebody there. It's just that either you don't realize it because you're not educated on this whole thing, that there's millions and millions of people
Wow.
that have suffered from it, or because of the amnesic walls that when somebody goes through this trauma, it goes behind an amnesic wall. And so they don't even necessarily know what it is. They know that they have things that don't seem right. They have these mood swings. They have this, that, and the other, but they don't know until they start getting healing and the Lord starts um, undoing the layers of the onion is to bring the healing about. So many people have come to me and they don't know that that's their issue. They know something's odd and that they don't have this memory, they don't remember their childhood or whatever it is. But as we start working, it all unfolds. And so everybody needs to know.
You made a term, you have a term, you said the trauma spectrum.
Mhm.
And, I've never thought about that before, but a lot of people, well, we're all on that to a degree, but this is very in depth. Talk about spiritual warfare. You
Yeah.
know, I think it's safe to say that the powers that be and the powers of darkness do not want to see this type of ministry take place. They want to keep it hidden and suppressed. They
Mhm.
want to intimidate
Mhm.
leaders who perhaps need to reevaluate, ministering to people, how much more important that is than to risk offending anybody.
Mhm.
You've got to address the wound. You can't put a band-aid over a bullet hole. You gotta address that wound, and you're really going in, talk about on the front line. Very, very powerful. What would you say to someone watching right now that says, you know what? Nobody would believe me, but I've been through that. I've been through ritual sexual abuse, or I've been through trafficking. You
Yeah.
know, what would you say to them right now in regards to your ministry and to this conference?
I would tell them I believe them and that there's a whole community here that believes them and that we welcome you with open arms and that there's nothing that you have done that cannot be forgiven. Nothing. Because often they make the victim be the perpetrator as well, just so that they double bind them and keep them in control. But the truth is, you were a child and that you didn't know you were being controlled and manipulated, and any of us that would have been going through what you went through may have easily made that same decision. But he does forgive, and he's standing there with his arms open wide, just waiting for you to say yes to him or even seek him, because his word says if you seek him, you'll find him, and he is there.
And he defines us by who we are. He doesn't define us. Jesus doesn't define you by your tragedy, you know?
No,
And he wants to redeem people. He's in the salvaging business, but even more so, he remakes us. The woman at the well, Fotine, went on to start a revival in Samaria. You
mm-hmm.
know, the woman caught in adultery, Livia, the governor's daughter. People need to read about this and the Roman Senate annals and other things. Dr. Ron Charles, Kiva Foundation. She and her father moved to Damascus. It's because of she and her father and their appeal. To the Roman emperor, that Damascus became an international city, free to worship Jesus, the only one of its kind in that area because of Livia and what God did and how he redeemed her. How much more does God want to redeem you, who have been through tragedy? You've been through a horrible, horrific, unspeakable abuse, but the church in America needs to take off the blinders, needs to take off the muzzle, needs to take off the earplugs and listen. There's a more than a chance. I think it's a certainty that every congregation has at least one person who is on the trauma spectrum, if not most, and then at least one person who has been involved or been subjected to this horrible, very well hidden until recent years,
Yeah.
Luciferian practice of harming children and trafficking children and abusing children. And I'm so grateful for people like you, Kelly, that stand on the front line. You don't care what people think, you know, and we I've helped plant 3 churches, okay, in the past, over 40 years of ministry. You know what? When you approach subjects like this, um, there's those of us who believe right on, you got to speak to the need, but there's those, well, that's just isn't the time or the place. Let me tell you something. If ever there was a place, it's in the
Mhm.
house of God. And I think it's caused a lot of damage to the American church, the refusal to speak on these things. In regards to that, For the pastors out there that said, you know what, I want to speak on those things. I want to minister to people in my congregation who have gone through something similar. How would you encourage them? Where would you send them?
I would send them here.
Exactly. That's what I
Last,
thought.
last year, I did a pastor special and it was like 50% off. I'll tell you right now, if a pastor would come and learn this stuff and implement it, I'll give you a ticket for free. Just
Wow.
come because we really have not had anybody from the church willing to do this work, to learn, to they what they want to do is just send them here. And when I push back because I can't do it all, right? And the
Oh,
Lord is
man.
sending people, but I'm like, I'll do it if you come with them so that you can learn. But they won't. No, 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 you know.
Too,
I'm like,
too, too big.
designate somebody in the church to have them come.
Well,
Please.
let's go that route. Hey, somebody in your congregation has a burden to reach out to people who've been subjected to this. You know what? Of course, I don't know about you, Kelly, but the best people to do it are those who've been through it that have been healed, in my opinion, because God often makes us deliverers of the very thing that we were delivered from and healed
And
from.
that, yeah, that is what we're seeing, and that's what we're trying to develop as well. So we have a program as they're getting their healing, they can start giving back after a certain point. And that giving back could be just doing mailings, and then it can evolve into whatever, different things that we have going on, getting donations or getting prepared for the retreat, and then it can keep evolving. And as they get healed, they are the ones that can truly make a huge difference. They can do things that we can't do because of the way their brain has been manipulated. And it was being manipulated and used in mighty ways for the kingdom of darkness, but when they come over to the kingdom of light, now they can be used for good in the advancement of the kingdom of Yahweh. And so that's what we're seeing.
I love it. Now, your podcast, where obviously it's on YouTube as well. Tell us about the podcast.
So that's newer. Um, I was spending so much time, which I still am, but working with the individual survivors.
As we dive more into this, there's another show called Deep Dive that you definitely need to be on. So,
Okay, let's
all
do it.
right. All right. Well, until next time, folks, pray for Kelly Holly. Go to warriorbrideministries.com. You know that 50, 200, 500, 1,000 bucks that you're not going to know what you did with by the end of the month? Well, put it into good soil. This is good soil. Kelly Holly is good soil. Warrior Bride Ministries is good soil. People help people who help people. Let's help each other, and we'll see you next time on Word on the Street.